here.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I got you.
Okay, so we're good.
You gonna read the open notice?
Call the meeting to order. Village Township Committee Special Budget Meeting, March 29, 2016. Adequate notice of this meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act by mailing a schedule of the Township Committee to the Express Times and North Star Ledger newspaper, posting a copy on the Township Bulletin Board, and filing a copy with the Township Clerk. Roll call. Adams?
Here.
Kenya?
Here.
Marqueta?
Here.
Varsity?
Here.
Spencer?
Here.
All rise for the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We should note that the mayor is calling in via phone. He answered that he's here, but he's actually on the phone. And we're going to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss litigation regarding the police chief and Novak v. Greenwich Township.
Jim Pfeiffer's not here yet, so
Oh.
so why don't we just go into the budget till he gets here?
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
so you made the motion.
No, I didn't make a motion. I said I'm going to ask, call for a motion, so.
Okay.
Okay. Due to the fact the attorney's not here, we'll skip that for now and move on to the open sessions regarding the 2016 budget. You, John?
Okay. First thing we have to do with your budget this year is, I'll explain a little bit. You are currently not compliant with the expenditure cap.
And why is that?
That is because you did not do anything as far as the COLA ordinance the past couple of years. You had no banking. You would have done the COLA ordinance, it would have given you some banking and increased the maximum allowable amount you can raise.
When was the last time we did a COLA ordinance?
COLA ordinance was last done in 2013. It was not done in 14 nor in 15.
How much was it in 2013?
Offhand, I do not know it.
Is there any notes as to the reason why, or is it just something that, with all the changes with the CFO, or?
What would it have been in 14 and 15?
I didn't do the calculation. I mean,
Well, if that's what's substantiating an issue this year, I would have expected that you have the numbers under your belt.
Well, to me, it was a moot point because it was not done. And going back to 2013, I believe it was about $79,000 in 2013. So if it's $79,000, we're in the neighborhood, and you're carrying that for 2 more years for each of 14 and 15, you're looking at...
Well, yeah, but what was the cost of living, I mean, this cost of living adjustment?
Yes.
I mean, inflation's pretty low, you can get loans at extremely low rates. What are these dollar amounts that we're talking about?
Within the last couple of years, you were allowed to go up 1.5%. The cost of living adjustment brought it up to 3.5%. Just looking at this year alone, the state says it's 0%. So the only way you're going up to 3.5% is by doing the COLA ordinance. And this goes for every town within the state of New Jersey. So if you did nothing as far as the COLA ordinance this year, your budget would look exactly the same as it did last year. So it changes. There's variations year to year. I didn't go back and do what 13 or 14 and 15 were because that horse is out of the barn. There's no point in going back and rehashing numbers if but you're in this situation because of that.
Was this presented by the auditor at the time described?
No. Look, if there's free money on the table, we're taking it. I mean, we had issues with state funding. We had grants that were coming in or not coming in. Had we been advised of COLA, we would have taken advantage of it. Now, I requested you to reach out to Morrison,
We've sent the letter.
okay?
I've not heard back.
Have you tried calling him?
No, send the letter first.
Okay.
So if we don't, the letter that we send out basically says, can we come in, take a look, and see how you come to your ending balances? You know, it's a courtesy from, you know, one order to the fire order. There are plenty of audit firms that will not allow that. I mean, we ask people to come in. If you want to come in, bring pen and paper. We won't let you make copies. You know, there's limitations to what you, the courtesies you extend.
But right now, we just don't have any factual numbers to justify.
No, but if you would like me to pursue that and find out.
I would,
what they
yeah,
are.
well, I think at the first time we met, I asked you to specifically reach out to Morrison and find out
Well,
why.
I reached out to Mr. Morrison.
Okay.
Via letter.
Oh, understood. And
Okay.
today, we have more means than a letter in
Yes,
contact
there
with
is the
people.
protocol that we do follow.
Understood.
Okay, if
Okay.
he doesn't respond back to us, our letter, then our hands are pretty much tied. And trust me, there are plenty of accounting firms out there who will not let you come in your doors. So we don't pick up the phone and call and hound. I mean, I can go back and look and see what your 2014 and 2015 COLA would have been. If you'd like me to do that, I can do that.
Yeah.
I was never asked to go and do that, so I never did that.
I'd be interested in knowing.
Absolutely.
So then it should have been maybe the auditor picking it up, saying, hey, guys, why, you know.
It does nothing negative. It does not impact you in any way. It does not authorize spending. So to do this or to not do it is crazy. Why would you not do this? All right, I
Well,
don't-
what does it do, actually? Raise our cap? Raise
It
our
raises your
capability?
cap level, right. You're allowed to, like, we'll use this year, for example, okay? State says 0% increase unless you do the COLA ordinance, which raises it 3.5%. All right? So, say your budget was $1 million last year. If it's 0% increase, you're coming in at $1 million this year. If you can come in at 3.5%, you're 3.5% more than the million was last year.
So you
Now,
said-
if you don't raise your budget, let me just finish, because this is where you come into cap issues. If you raise a little more than $1 million, but less than the 3.5%, the number in between is what you carry forward to next year and the year after until you use it. In the third year, it just falls off if you don't use it. But the number that you can raise up to is here. The number you do raise is here. This money in the middle is what gets carried forward for the next 2 years. And if in 2017 you need to raise a little more, then you can dip back into that amount and actually use that amount. Because you don't have those, you're limited to 3.5% over where you were last year,
Not 2%.
not 2%. See, the 2% came in because for a while it had been a 1.5% automatic increase. COLA ordinance raises it to 3.5%. So there's your 2% where you're coming up with. COLA ordinance used to be an automatic passage with the introduction of the budget, but that was like 15 years ago. All right, ever since they said, no, if you want to have the COLA increase, you need to do that by ordinance.
Yeah, I always thought the cap was 2%.
Now, there's a levy cap that's 2%,
Okay.
okay? That one you're in compliance with because that's automatic. When we calculate the levy cap, there are exceptions that go into it. It's a big Excel document that the state provides. They allow exceptions in there, so it is 2% plus or minus some exceptions, so it's not always 2%. But
So-
that also has cap banking, which is when you do the levy cap workbook, that flows year after year.
So you say that we have a levy cap of 2%. Right?
Yeah.
So what is the COLA related to?
What
What
was
cap?
the expenditure cap?
The expenditure cap.
Yes, it says within your budget, what it costs for you to operate your municipality inside the cap. It doesn't, it excludes all outside the cap money. Inside the cap, when you pass the COLA ordinance, you can go 3.5% more than you did last year. Also,
And you're saying we're not in compliance, meaning there was something that was done wrong.
currently you're not in compliance for 2016's budget.
Okay.
Which means you're over what you're asking for inside the cap right now is over by about
Understood.
$123,000 that you have to pull out before we get to.
So this budget that we started with, right, and the follow-on is not in compliance due to the fact that it's over the cap,
Yeah.
plain and simple.
What's the percent cap at right now?
3.5%. The expenditure cap is, when you pass the COLA ordinance, it's 3.5% more than it was last year of inside the cap money. That's why when we present it, we try to break it down as best we can. You can see right now, operations within cap, you're asking in this budget for $3.4 million. The maximum is $3.3 million, and maybe rounding that off roughly. But it's about $123,000 that you have to pull out, $124,000. Once you pull that $124,000 out, you'll be at cap, and you'll be good. That's a budget that you can introduce and move forward. Or if you wish to cut more, you cut more. That's entirely up to you.
And what you're saying, I don't want to get ahead of you. I don't know. Were you going to
No, go
explain?
ahead.
What you're saying right now is, you get to that, you pull out that 123, that gets us compliant. That would put us at 12.9% increase?
No, right now, with that in there, it's at 12.9%. And if you want me to go forward with it now, I'll do that.
Just clarify,
Sure.
with the 123, we're at a 12.9% increase.
The local rate would go up 6.2 cents, which is 12.9% increase over last year.
12.9% increase. Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
6.5 cents, you said?
That's 6.5 cents. Now, one tax point, so to raise it 1 cent or lower it 1 cent, you would have to cut $59,561. So when you decrease that $123,000, you're effectively cutting off 2 tax points. So your increase would be 4.2 cents. And that would be, once you're in compliance, you'd be down to 4.2 cents.
And that puts it at what percent?
8 and change?
8, yeah.
If we take out the 123, we're down to 8. Is that-
Down 8%, 4.2.
Okay. That's just 8% over last year, spending.
Over last year.
Just expenditure spending. Spending is up 8% after we take out the 123.
Or
Total now.
well, revenue's down.
Because we're...
Well, I'm just talking about spending.
We're saying in one breath, we're saying
Same
inside the
budget.
cap is up 3.5%. All right, you also have outside the cap, you have debt issues. Those are separate from inside the cap, okay? So, first thing we do, get that $124,000 out of inside the cap. That'll bring you down to 4.2 cents. What we can do from there is, and I'll propose this to you, and again, you vote on this, you ask any questions you like. You can continue to cut from there. I would hesitate to cut for one reason. Last year, your budget was very tight. End of the year, very tight. You spent what you budgeted for. There's really no wiggle room in it. All right? Budget for what you think you're going to spend. All right? But also keep in mind, things come up throughout the course of the year that are unexpected. So cutting it to the bone is not going to do you any justice. All right? So if you want to continue to make cuts after that, it's fine. You're the guys that vote on the budget, not me. All right? What I was thinking, there's a couple of pieces of revenue that aren't reflected in here because they haven't been reflected in last year's budget. We think this is the year to put them back in because they are recurring revenues. You can only anticipate revenues if you've collected them or shown that you've collected them in the prior year. And you can't anticipate more than you collected last year unless you have a valid reason or there's something, construction's booming in town. You can anticipate more construction from these. So there's a couple of small revenues I'd like to put on here that aren't going to help you all that much. I'd still like to get them back in the budget. ABC licenses are one. Cable TV franchise fee is another. These are just ones that should be in here, and we'd like to put them back in. And again, not going to be a major help to you. What would be a major help to you is if you decide where you want that tax rate that will now be at 4.2 cents, where you're comfortable with that coming in at. All right, if you're comfortable at 2 cents, or if you're comfortable at 1 cent, or if you want to keep it flat, we can still talk about touching deferred school tax. All right, because I know last time one of the last things that was brought up by Mr. Adams was that we were going to do some road projects, and the understanding was that money we were going to raise the deferred school tax to bring money into the budget from surplus and fund those road projects. If I have that right? Or is that
I don't know the technical aspect of it, but it was basically leveraging those funds to put in capital projects without raising the tax.
Right, right. Because what happens is this, what the state allows you to do, and I try not to get overly technical, especially at 7 o'clock at night. You have a school district budget that asks for their money from July 1st to June 30th. You collect those money into the tax year of January 1st to December 31st. The state allows you to defer half of that tax levy, because it's unfair for you to put an entire half a year payable to the school district on your books, because you haven't collected it yet. So they'll allow you to defer that money, which takes it off of your balance sheet entirely. So if you can defer up to $6 million, $5 million of tax levy, because you have about a $10 million school tax, if you defer up to half of that, it takes the payable off your books, which increases your fund balance. Now going into the budget cycle, we can take more fund balance into the budget. It's just moving money from one area to the next. If you were going to do road projects and bump that up, you still have about a $1.3 million cushion on your deferred school tax. So if you took $250,000 to do a road project, that would reduce your payable to the school, and it would increase your fund balance, and you would take more fund balance and put it into the 17 budget to do the roads. If you want to increase it a little further, 2 tax points to get down to 2 cents, we bring another $120,000 into surplus, bring that into the budget, and now you're down to 2 cents.
Does it have any,
If I have to explain it again,
What you're
please,
explaining, yeah.
does it have any effect on the money and when they're expecting the money from the town?
Absolutely not. Because
Okay.
the school's still made whole. It's just instead of calling it a payable, we're going to say it's deferred. We know you're going to collect it and send it to us. You don't have to call it a payable on your books. And you can do it up to half because the state says you should have paid, from June to December, half of their year. That should be paid already, right? It's that other half of the year that you haven't collected yet that we're not going to penalize you for by putting a payable on your books for that. You can take the payable off, call it deferred, it'll never show up on your books. You got to footnote it and show it in the footnotes to the audit. But that money, once you defer it, it takes the payable away, which it reduces the liability, and the net effect is it increases your owner's equity or your fund balance. And then you take that fund balance in 17 or 16 now and put it into the budget to offset taxation, or use it for roads.
Yeah, all right, so take the same concept, from my perspective, and this is a personal feeling of each committee person, okay? When we heard what you were just talking about, the mechanics of all of that and how we can add value to the general public by instituting these infrastructure repairs, that made a lot of sense to us.
Okay?
Check. Let's do that. It's a finite period of time that I don't even want to say loaning, or we're doing that maneuver, okay, to increase the value of the infrastructure in our township for the benefit of the taxpayers. What it sounds like you're saying is, hey, you got this increase in spend, you can also use the same mechanism to pay that.
Right.
And to me, my personal opinion is control the spending to prevent doing that. I would not do that just because we have spending, or maybe if there's a significant revenue shortfall for some reason and it's a one-time thing, but I'm very cautious with spending other people's money. So that's my own personal opinion on using that process
I couldn't agree more.
to offset
But
spending.
I have, just like the COLA issue, I have to present you with your options so that you can make the decision.
Mhm.
If I don't do that, then I'm not doing my job.
Absolutely. And we were, just for the record, we were presented with things that the state wanted us to do, like defer pension payments, okay? And we said, no. We're going to pay as you go, all the way. And I don't know, maybe we're the only town in New Jersey, I don't know, but there was very few of us who followed that methodology.
You have a very unique situation in that you have the ability, you got that $1.3 million out there. neighboring towns are right up against the 50% mark, because this is what helps them when they get into crisis mode. This is what they do. Even if you took 2 cents plus the 250, you'd still be at roughly about $1 million still that you could defer. And school taxes don't always go down. Well, I can't remember the last time mine went down. They only seem to go up. Sometimes they stay flat, but sometimes they go up. So when they go up, your deferral could potentially be more. Okay? The only time we ever see that come down is when, because you also pay debt to the school on behalf of the school, right? So when the debt is done and the debt is paid, and they are no longer needing $500,000 from you to pay the interest and principal on bonds, that's when your school tax goes down. And that's where it could impact you negatively, because now they're asking for fewer dollars, so your deferral goes back the other way. And we don't see deferrals go back the other way.
So Jim, what you were saying is that you'd rather attack this by going after spending rather than going after this other,
And,
call it an accounting method.
yeah, the accounting method is he presented it, that's fine.
Yeah.
What we did in 2014 was, because of what we were walking into, was pretty drastic. We eliminated positions. We knew we had to reduce our spending, okay? And in 2015, we opened things up a little bit more. You gotta curb the spending. That's the issue. And if you don't attack that, or if you don't justify it for the taxpayers, I would not go about hiding it. Not saying that that's hiding, but, it's just another mechanism that's available to us. We can do a number of things. But to your point, yes, I say we need to focus on where, and this is why we instituted the ordinance for spending.
Where are we at with spending compared to last budget? What's the increase there?
Right now, if you flip to page 3 or 4 in the expenditures, I focus on the inside the cap, because that's, outside the cap is your debt that you're paying off. You have some capital money in there this year, substantially more than it was last year, so you can always cut from that. But just to look at the inside the cap portion, last year ended the year, your budget is modified was 3.2.
Where you at? You can't find it.
You got to read the top. It's not the third page. It's like the fourth or fifth page.
Oh, okay.
It says
There we are.
Where at? What page?
3 or 4.
Oh, 3. Oh, okay.
I guess it's the fourth or fifth page.
Got it.
The expenditure, third page of the expenditures. Okay. This year, you're coming in at $3,470,000 inside the cap only. Last year, you ended the year at $3,232,000.
So we're up to 50.
Up,
240.
240.
A little less than
yeah,
240.
2.25.
An inflation rate would be what? Do we know?
Not as much as you're going up.
Right, exactly. And so I'm where Jim's at, where if our spending shouldn't,
Well, here's the thing.
Well, we're walking in the door and we're up
First
to
thing-
240,000.
Right, but the first thing you have to do is cut 123,000
right,
Yeah.
out of this year. So that'll bring you down to what? 3,350,000. All right, now if you wanted to go flat, you'd still have to continue to cut another 250,000 out of inside the cap to come flat for the year.
right.
And that's, now
So we
you're
need-
talking about things you probably don't want to talk
What
about.
is he
Now you're talking about.
Hang on a second.
The attorney wasn't aware he had the meeting tonight,
Does he
so.
have anything
No,
on?
he's right here. Don't get down. This impacts the budget.
Well, okay,
Mhm.
nothing.
I'm sorry.
No, that's
Oh,
So we're up 240. I think that's a safe number, is it not? 30.
238,000.
30 to 70 is more, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, all right, so
Only in proposed,
I love the calculator with the green,
And
okay?
this isn't, this isn't set in stone.
Yeah.
This is why we're
Understood,
here
understood.
tonight.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, we're walking in and I'm looking already at, we're up in spending 240,000 and we haven't had any, and well, we had some discussions last time and we understood some projects,
mhm.
which was good. In terms of personnel, we gotta cover that, we gotta cover all these other increases that I see, but I don't yet fully understand. So, yeah, we have our work to do. I kind of think that this is good information, don't get me wrong.
Do we have, Catherine, do we have the leasing to the farmers, is that included as any revenue source at all in this?
The only thing that I've seen that's come in from the lease is like $3,000 some dollars. It's nothing significant.
All right, so I know this property here is being, I was just curious. Okay. I know he's forming this.
You have a hotel tax that brings in, last year brought in $16,000. You thought we're going to bring that in as a revenue, and your cable franchise fee, which is roughly 11. So those are two, revenues we can count on that we can bring into the budget.
But one of the things I caution you on with bringing that in is that money right now has been going into miscellaneous revenue year after year. And miscellaneous revenue helps your fund balance at year end. So if you took from there and start using it as a revenue, I would pull back what you're taking in as a revenue, or put in what you're taking as a revenue, and pull that back out of what you're bringing into fund balance. Because right now, this budget anticipates $495,000 in fund balance, which is pushing the limit of where you really should be. Because you're not recurring, you only brought back, you didn't bring back $495,000, right? You used what was...
Maybe we should work towards a goal and see if we can get there. Like, I'm thinking personally that we shouldn't have more than a cost of living increase, and try to work towards that, see if we can get to that.
Last year in the budget, you used $478,000. As a result of last year's operations, you brought back up $449 of that. This year, we're stretching it out to $495, and that's pushing it, but it's still doable because you're still left with almost $700,000 in surplus at the end of last year. So I would hesitate to creep that number upwards unless you defer the school tax, which will increase your fund balance. Then you can take more fund balance.
I think what you're saying is don't bank on all of these other miscellaneous revenues.
Well, if you start bringing them in as a revenue, you can't call them
Miscellaneous.
anymore.
Just shifting it from one to another.
Because now you're bringing money in to fund your budget. As they come in from miscellaneous, that's other money that we didn't budget for, so it automatically goes into fund balance at the end of the year. Now it's not going to do that because you're using it in your budget.
Well, Frank, to your point in terms of a goal, I know where I stand in terms of, do I want to see a tax increase, or do I want to implement technology or different ways of doing things, utilizing capital to offset the expense increase for this year. Doing things differently is always of interest to me. But, let's go around, because, quite frankly, I know the county's staying flat. County tax is staying flat. I don't know what the other townships in Warren County are doing.
Yeah, but they got a big break from the Warren Haven sale, and that took a lot off.
Flat, but your county taxes are based on equalized values. So if your your fair market value is raising higher than your neighbors, you'll see an increase, even though the county's flat. Because one will go down and one will come up. So I don't know where they haven't come up with those numbers. That's why we've estimated those at this point. We're always putting a little bit of cushion. All right, but
Is that to say their spending is flat?
Their spending is flat.
Okay, so the county's spending is flat.
Correct.
What about other townships in our area? Are they even at the same point that we are at?
Yes. Well, everybody's a little. I had one guy who was fine with a 6.8 cent increase in one town. They wound up settling on 2 cents. One wanted flat, one wanted 6.8. Hey, we have to run the town. This is what it costs to run the town. Rather than cutting it bare bones again, let's help out our own fund balance and let's raise it when we need it. If you keep it flat, the problem is it's going to hurt you next year. It's going to hurt you the year after. Right? We see the best well-run towns increase it a little each year, cent, cent and a half, maybe 2 cents, higher end of that. But something, because your vendors aren't coming down on their prices. You know, we see
Salaries
a
go up.
decrease in gasoline now, but gasoline's creeping back up. You know, you don't see that. You've got salaries. Some are
Yeah.
contractual that you have to raise 2 cents or 2% for certain contractual salary. You know, so keeping it flat, if you could do it, it'd be great, but it's really going to hurt you down the line.
That's where I stand.
Yeah, I mean, the goal obviously would be to keep it flat. That would be my goal. If we couldn't get there, I'm thinking cost of living, because like you said, you have, people get cost of living raises every year, and part of everybody's budget, everybody's home budget. Anything over a cost of living increase, I think we gotta take a serious look at. So that's where I stand.
Well, then again, here's where we're at. Once you get down to cost of living, because that was last year, plus cost of living, is where you're going to be once you cut that 123 out. And that's a 4.2 cent increase on your tax rate.
Say that one more time? So last year,
You're gonna have to keep repeating this.
Well, think about, right, the COLA ordinance allows you to bring last year's numbers up by 3.5%, the cost of living increase. Right now, you're $123,000 over that. Once you cut that $123,000 out, you're down to your cost of living increase. But again, that's inside the cap. Where I would look is outside the cap, because you have a big amount going into capital improvement fund. If you want to do that, it's going to cost you. You know, right now it's $110,000, whereas last year it was $27,000. So you're talking way more than a tax point there.
no,
So the cost of living ordinance,
Yes,
how does that bring in dollars into the township?
it doesn't.
Okay. So what is it that you're saying? Because I'm not following.
by the way, I wasn't saying cost of living ordinance. I'm saying, what is the current cost of living rate? That's why I was
The
going.
state allows it to be 3.5%.
Right, but that may not be what,
But 2%.
maybe around, yeah, that's where I was going.
So do you know, all right, so the question is, what is the current?
What is the current cost of living?
What is the current cost of living adjustment?
Yeah,
Point,
I don't know.
is it point?
Just as a reference, I'm not saying we go there, but it is something that I think would be good to know.
I don't know.
Okay, fine, so you can look into
But I am
that.
getting it back, I'll get back to you.
Right.
And what my question was, how does the COLA ordinance, if it does, because I still don't fully understand it, how does it bring more dollars into our budget? You're saying it doesn't, but what it does do, it is allows you to spend it up.
It raises the limit of what you can spend.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a ceiling that.
So,
I don't
there's no
think
magic to COLA.
No.
You know, there's no...
No, I don't think we want to use it. It's just going to make us spend more.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
here's the,
So if you have an
one of-
anti-spend, or if you have a controlled spending mentality, going the COLA route works against that.
Yeah, everybody has a controlled spending mentality. But I think one of the facts of the township is nothing's been done tax-wise for 10 years. I don't know where else you could cut. The biggest expense is employees. We're down to an 8-man police department, a 2-man road crew, and a couple of people in the office. What more can you cut down? You know, I mean,
Well, you look at the projects, and you look at the spend that's going on. Is it truly where we want to go?
well,
That's all.
yeah, and I
It's
understand too, but you do have to keep the infrastructure up, as you pointed out. I mean, that's,
And we put together a 6-year capital plan that is improving infrastructure, roadways, the sewer basins, those drains. It's bringing incredible amounts of equipment for first aid with the
I like to look
breathing
at that,
apparatus. the
I like to look
equipment
at
as well.
that capital plan again.
Yeah, we can detail that out.
Uh,
Do you have it? Do you have, it's in the,
Capital plan, the roads.
I may have.
How much is budgeted every year for that capital plan?
I think it was about 250.
250, Mike told me. You need 250,000 every year to keep up with that.
250 for 6 years is what, 1.25, maybe 1.5?
Is that was that to pay off a bond or something that he already got on?
No.
This is-
Pay as you go.
Pay as you go.
Now, from last year, I met with Mike last week, from last year, you have 209,000 left in various roads, it was called. So he has 209,000 to play with this year,
Mhm.
but you guys have to authorize it. I said to Mike, do you need 250 or can you work with the 209? And he said that he would work with you to work that out. So at this point in time, I put in 110,000 in capital improvement fund thinking of the loader purchase. You don't have to do that. You can take it out entirely. That's up to you. Again, that's outside of cap though. You probably should get down to the inside of cap first.
So Mike had 250 to use last year, and he has 209 left.
He had, in
Yeah.
addition to Dumont was separate, its own separate project, and then he had 250 tucked away for that first part of the red line.
All the red
I
roads.
believe. So this year, he was thinking the purple roads, and after, it kind of fell apart when the committee,
The committee dissolved, and we couldn't
Yeah.
approve
Yes.
Mike's, the quotes that had come in. There was no committee here in order to approve that, okay? And I think it was over. I think Mike told me that the quotes that had come in were over, so we would have needed to do another round of
I was
bidding.
going to say, if you want to read through and look at it, we can meet with Mike and you can say, okay, Mike, you have 209, what can we do with that? That's all we can afford this year. And then we'll worry about it, the next roads next year.
They want to, yeah, or they may want to say, Mike, you got 100,000 this year.
Oh,
Something else, something's going to suffer. You're either going to suffer with money, or you're going to suffer with infrastructure failures, like you're faced with.
Well, I mean,
That's why we're here, Bob.
But you know what? The question is, he had 250,000 that they thought had to be done last year, and it wasn't never used. So it doesn't
Well-
seem to be that critical if he's
Well,
not tapping
it
into
probably
it.
became more critical because you didn't do it last year, now it's carrying over.
Maybe
So-
you're right. No, I'm just saying we should look at it.
drive
that's
around
all.
the developments, and you see the cracks, and you got kids out with skateboards,
Okay.
things like that.
No, I just want to look at it. I'm not saying we cut it,
Yeah,
but
no, what you guys need, and we're not there yet, but we need to cover those capital projects and see what's left. You know, a building was out there, right? Obviously,
Mhm.
we need something. You know, it's already there, so we need to do a little in-depth on that. But,
so
let's work with what's,
why don't we do
The cap.
first things first? Why don't we get down to the cap first? Why don't we get rid of that extra money? Let's talk about that, and then we can talk about the rest.
so in this budget that you've given us, are there any increases for?
Yeah.
No. Are there any, salary increases?
Yes.
Salary
Well,
increases?
no. There were no salary increases. No. The
Okay,
answer's no.
because typically the CFO will put in, all right,
I
it's a
did not.
2% salary, all right, so there's zero salary
Correct.
increases in what we're looking at.
Correct.
Okay.
What about headcount?
Headcount, yes, I increased clerk S&W. I increased roads S&W accordingly as per Joe. As we've said, police is a bit of a moving target right now, so we tried to plan for that. There's other issues. with
And the
that we
police
talked
you
about.
have, what did you allot for? How many officers?
So let's go down the list. How many additional clerks? How many additional DPW? How many?
Yes, right here.
Yeah?
Let's go.
So for the clerks line, municipal clerk,
I was told to budget for 2 clerical assistants at 20 hours each,
and that comes out to what annual?
about 30,000.
About 30,000 annually.
Right.
We discussed at the last meeting, I'm going to take one off.
Yeah. 2 at,
So that's 15,000 off,
Yes.
okay?
Two at
So
30.
But right now, it's in. The whole 30's in right now.
right now it's in.
is
Cross
30K.
that off to 30 and make it 15.
No, I just want to know what the initial, it was two clerks at 20 hours.
Correct.
Was 30 grand a year annual, okay?
Yes.
Because this is a partial. So that was what was in your heads, that's what was here. And then now we can, let's get all the additions. Who's next? Public buildings and grounds?
Just roads.
Roads. Where are my roads?
And that really, it really wasn't an addition, I don't think, because
Where am I? I'm on one of
Is that where we talked about elimination of 2 part-time to make it 1 full-time?
something like that.
okay, so
So where are we?
last year in roads, we
Roads,
spent way more than what we budgeted.
What page, Joe?
On my document.
On your
it
doc.
said-
Page 2, salaries and wages, roads, streets and roads.
Streets and roads at the bottom of page 2.
That's up 119, right?
159.5 was budgeted, but we actually came in at 248,000.
Does that include Joe on the
So
two
you were over
extra?
budget 100,000 last year roughly, or 88.
Well, there was a $60,000 line item that said it was called payroll adjustment, so I think that was part of it. Okay.
Does that
I
include,
never heard of
does that
that.
include the two Johnny said Joe
I
wanted?
thought that was you, like this year.
Joe
No,
wanted two full-time
that was
jobs.
last year's
Yeah.
budget.
Is that in there?
Yeah, at least so.
It is. All right, so maybe
He wanted
Have we looked at that?
full-time.
you wanted two,
We had talked about doing this.
we talking about maybe
two part-time
knocking it down one.
Oh, okay.
It's in case
That money would
you
cover it.
in case somebody comes on after the first.
Met with him today, stuff.
Yeah,
Were the two employees Joe wanted?
It is, and
that
I
included?
understand Joe was operating and maybe
Okay.
went
What were
over
they going at
15 to
each,
20
you remember?
for, the leaf pickup
I want to say
program,
the
pilot
first
stuff.
guy was 40,
It's somewhere around 41,000
yeah,
for the full-timer.
yeah,
Well, there's gonna be two full-timers, one was around 41,000, the other one
yeah,
a little over 30,000. Plus you have to add in
benefits. which I did
benefits,
not.
which, you know,
Which you did not, so,
yeah.
so that benefits is not included in that number.
Correct.
Right.
I mean,
You know, benefits
can Joe do it
are,
with one?
yeah, is Joe coming? Because we didn't, yeah. Yeah, Joe could go with one, and then maybe bump him up the salary on one of the part-timers, because we're not competitive with the other municipalities around us, especially when it comes to snow plowing. I mean, we're the lowest, and the towns are offering like $6 more an hour. And I really don't want to lose anybody that's been on these roads for 6 or 7 years that can, you know, we put in new rookies on the roads during a snowstorm.
So if we take
Yeah.
one, do you want the higher paid one or the lower paid one?
With the higher paid one.
All right, so how much will we save on this then? Do we have a number? About 30?
Yeah, at least 30,000. And there's a possibility on the health insurance that employee might not take the health insurance, so that's about 24,000, I believe.
There's not a doubt too that unless barring some horrible storms coming up in the fall, we can definitely cut the streets and roads 08. Because when Joe prepared this budget, it was with the unknown of what's going to happen in the winter. So I think he put in like something like 50 grand for salt. We haven't come near that. So there's wiggle room there if you want to cut that.
I have another question. Well, I'll say that. Just one on this part.
All right, so what was the, we're going down heads, we're adding heads and checking clerk, DPW.
DPW, another 30,000, I think we can take out of DPW.
Yeah, we're
Was
at
that for heads?
45
Was
right
that for
now.
people?
Yeah, that's the one full-time, yeah, he's gonna
That was
get one, he's
30K.
not, yeah,
That's what he planned, all right.
he's planning on two,
He was
planning on two full-timers, but we're gonna give him one
He
full-timer.
was planning on two at
Right.
30 each,
Well, no,
No,
one was
one's
at 40,
47.
and the other one was at, yeah.
30.
Oh, so if I thought you wanted to hire a person out, though, but that would be 41. I thought you, or
Yeah,
you
that's
wanted to keep-
41, but we're eliminating the spot for 30,000.
Yeah.
You wanted to keep the 41.
Right, right,
I
yeah.
misunderstood.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So he wanted two new people, one for 30, one for 40, basically.
Right.
All right.
Question about legal. I know we're jumping back. I see we have the same number both
Yeah.
years.
Yep,
Do we need that same number this year? I know we had a lot of legal last year.
we did.
I'm hoping not to have as much this year.
I'm hoping to, but I don't know.
Well, you and
I mean, I think last year was kind of an anomaly, right? It was higher than most. I wouldn't use that as a baseline, right?
I think so. I know that with hiring new attorneys, there were some bigger bills I saw in February for them to come on board and review things.
I don't know what Bill's opinion is. I mean, is that
I don't think
160?
Well, weren't we up to 28,000 for the first 2 months?
Yes.
And we haven't received anything, any bills yet for this month, so, I mean, we're quarter of the way through, 3 months, yeah.
Oh, you're at 28,000. You're at 30,000.
Cut something there or no?
You were looking at 15,000 a month, which is like 180,000 based on that, but I don't anticipate going much further in legal on some of the stuff that we're dealing with, so,
I would hope not.
yeah.
So what are we saying here?
There's Joe.
I mean,
Do we want to keep it where it's at, or we think, because
Let's
we're on legal right now, but we'll
let's
go
see
back
where
to...
it's at for now.
Cut all your workers. You're the only one left.
Joe, what I was saying, you and I discussed earlier, I refreshed my memory, keeping the one, full-timer that has a CDL. Going from part-time to full-time. So actually, we're eliminating a part-timer, we're making full-time. We're not sure on that person's health insurance, which way he's gonna go with the health insurance. And we're gonna keep the remaining three part-timers?
The one would be a summer help, would be about, I just sit down, figuring it out, would be about 11 weeks during the summer with that in last year.
Okay.
High school.
Okay.
But that's in the budget already? So how much would that cost about, do you figure, for the 11 weeks?
What's that, 11 weeks?
So is it,
Was that in your initial proposal?
When I went through with what figures I had in there and, went through what I was proposing initially, there was the two full-timers and stuff, that was $235,000. With eliminating the one position, adding the full-timer that I have, or the part-timer that would stay, or the two part-timers that would stay, and the summer help would be it would be down to $222,000. And that's under just the regular salaries. The second page,
that's
the
pretty cut.
yeah.
So from 279 to 222.
235. I got it split on the second page of DPW salaries between straight time at the top of the sheet and overtime salaries down at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm looking at the spreadsheet that Kathleen does. She has in here 279,000 for salaries and wages for streets and roads. And you were saying,
Was that for this year? That probably included also the winter plow guys and stuff.
So what's the real-
That was, an overtime was another 43. So even if you do that, 235, my initial figure, 235,007, and 43,290 was overtime and making, putting money aside for wintertime guys, comes out to 270, should be what?
279.
279.
Right, all right. So we're still looking at the reduction of that by
Now,
30,000.
recalculate that 235, my regular salary comes down to 222,543, and I reduced, since it's quite obvious, there's not going to be 200 hours of overtime this year. A lot of that was winter, and 200 hours of part-time winter guys. There was about 190 the winter of 2014-15. That hours are reduced, so I pulled it down to 100 hours. And our wintertime staff and overtime comes out to only 23,000.
So we're trying to find out what that number is now. Right now we have 279. Bill was saying we could take 30,000 out of that if we got rid of the one.
Well, it's 35,000, no, because if you're going to keep the one part-timer, his salary still has to be in there for 27 hours a week for 52 weeks a year. So that's still $21,000.
At its current rate.
Keeping the part-time help.
So what would we be saving by getting rid of that one full-time employee?
Right now, it's about,
10 grand, 9 grand.
$12,000 to $13,000 off of the main salaries.
Because we're keeping him part-time.
We're keeping them
Okay.
part-time.
Well, that's just their salary, though, too. It doesn't include benefits.
Right.
And that's also, well, your savings also be better.
So that puts us at 28 right now. So back to the legal. Does everybody want to keep it at the same legal budget amount? I mean, last year, even on a bad year, we spent, it said 149.
No, it's 149, and they transferred 10,000 in. So, that's my reading, right, Kathleen? It's 149,740, added another 10,000?
Yeah, and keep in mind, and this is why I was saying last week, this is not 100% accurate, because I backed out a lot of things at the end of the year so that we would avoid an overexpenditure. So that legal number is over.
we're gonna have to find places to cut, so.
Well,
I would look
so,
at-
so when we total up all of the current bids for legal services, what did it come out to?
Bids,
Well, yeah, so we changed all of our legal staff this year.
it's hourly,
It's all hourly.
yeah.
I think the hourly rate went down on the municipal attorney at least.
Well, you know, there's benefits of sharing legal personnel, you know, across sewer and township attorney, that kind of stuff, and labor and township attorney. We had decreased actual labor costs pretty significantly, and over the last couple of years. Last year, it popped up, but it was still like, you know...
Well, percentage-wise, it came down, but it still was rather exorbitant. It was like 400 and some thousand, down to 200 and some thousand, down to 160. So it's...
Those problems are no longer sitting up here.
But to say that you've cut it down a lot is saying a lot, but it's not saying a lot.
Well, if you look at
From
it...
$500,000 down to 160.
No, outside of that aberration, because that was due to one thing. Outside of that, legal fees are down significantly, like 50%, okay, if I'm recalling Morrison's quote. So...
Yeah, but that was going from the 461,000 down, that 51%.
No, I don't think so. It was not included in those years.
Well, the sheet he gave me when I asked for it, that's what he had on it, 461,000 down to whatever the last number was, one something.
All right, well, we're at 160, okay? And now we have different set of legal folks here. What do you propose we put the budget item at?
Do you want to look at what we can cut first? Because like land use board, the O&E, you're never going to come near that.
Okay,
They
that's where that is.
They requested 30 to keep it flat, but you only spent 8,000 last year.
Where are we?
Land use board,
Page
page 2,
206.
O&E. I mean, there's not a lot of activity going on, correct?
What did they spend last year?
84, 8500.
We'll make it 10 grand.
Yeah, I'm good with that. So we just cut 25,500.
There's 25K.
Page
Page 206.
Thank you.
And on that same page, Kathleen, you and I were talking about the police car,
What page?
Yeah,
cutting 20,000 off of that.
yep.
Gonna go back to the lease,
Go
yeah.
with one to outfit,
Yeah.
to lease and outfit the car would be
Yeah,
about
right,
$20,000. We can cut
That's
that.
just-
That
this
one
is
number
the
was
math
based
one.
on sewer reasons.
Right.
Well, we did two,
Last
right,
year.
because we weren't getting, we decided to add two, okay? Typically, it was one per year. So is a purchase better than, is a purchase of one per year better than a lease over the long term?
That's why I originally put 40 in.
For one new car?
Right.
Yeah. All right, I think we need to understand that, and is there a significant savings,
Drop that
or
to
is
10?
it?
You'd have to look into your options of what your finance grids are gonna be before you can decide that.
Mhm.
Now, if you had like specialized police utility vehicle, four-wheel drive, that can go outside cap. So you can
I
put
don't
that
know
in
if
your
you-
capital section. But I'm
Yeah.
just throwing it out there because there's a difference between a car and a four-wheel drive. You know, cars have to be inside cap, four-wheel drives can be outside cap.
In the past, Guzzo used to do the 3-year lease, it was like $6,000 to $8,000, and, you know, he would roll them over year from year. You know, this was back 10 years ago, and it seemed to work, you know, and then he bought, after 3 or 4 years, he bought it for like $1 or whatever it was, so. I mean, it seemed to work, you know, why we go out and purchase them, you know, I don't know.
Well, let's see, let's see
No,
the
I mean,
numbers. If the
total
numbers
so
work,
far, we're at
you know, we can go with it. So for now, what do you want to do with the 40?
53,000 so far?
I don't feel comfortable whacking it out
we're
until
up to
we know
53,000.
where we stand on it.
Yeah, well, we can leave it in, you know. Can we do a year without a car? I mean, do we?
Well, we bought two last
Yeah, I know.
year. I don't know.
I don't know either. Can we? Can we go a year
I
without?
think you probably could.
There's 40 grand right there.
And then we figure it out for next year and put either the leasing or the back to the one per year deal
Yeah.
back in place.
So we gotta come up with 123. I say take the 40 out. And then,
40 is a big number.
Did we
I
just
know.
save 20, I mean, did we just save 25.5 on O&E for the land use?
Yes,
Yes.
25K.
25.5.
25.5, thank you.
And now we're looking at
Can
40?
you clarify what was taken out of streets and roads?
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of numbers kicked around.
13,000,
We took 13 out?
yeah.
Oh, assuming, all right, but you're assuming we take one guy, not put two guys into full-time.
Yeah,
Assuming we keep the part-time
Right.
status,
yeah.
and that saves 13 grand. You guys okay with that?
Does that account for cutting overtime? Did you say you cut overtime?
And that's what that number Joe gave me, so I'm assuming
Well,
that,
the overtime is quite obvious, that both of our overtime is went over.
Right.
You know, there's call out.
You said
I
originally-
was estimating 200 hours of overtime for them, two full-time positions and the actual one full-time position that we do have.
Okay.
Which, and then figures there at that amount were the full-time, or the overtime was for the equipment operator, truck driver, for 200 hours was 8,490. The first full-time replacement would be 6,000, second would be 5,000,100 at
what was
200 hours.
115,000?
I just cut it down to 150 hours. The CDL equipment operator is down to 6,300, change 68, 4,500 for the first full-time guy, and we talked about maybe just eliminating that second full-time position, so that's $5,100.
So what he's saying is he has 15, but it can go down to 10.
No?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying, Joe?
What's that?
You're estimating 15,000, but you can probably go down to 10,000 for overtime. Because that's 5,000 in savings right there.
All right, so then we're up to 18?
Well, that's the 5, okay, for the overtime. Attack the overtime first. Now the positions, what does that extra full-time position get us in terms of all the other projects that you laid out?
That extra full-time guy gets me 13 hours a week, and that position there is the construction craft also, is what we're gaining with that position. Is getting the jobs, maintaining the building grounds, some of the things that you've seen out here in the building here, what we did out here, redoing the bridge, the salt shed, rebuilding the walls and the salt shed.
One less, one less two.
I thought it said 115,000.
No, 15.
Okay.
Okay. So the trade-off on the full-time equivalent is that 13 hours and all the projects. I'm okay with the 5,000 in overtime. I'm not there yet with the full-time position. But let's just note that it is 13K.
Even for the one you're saying, or not for the second one? Jim?
So there's 5,000 in overtime, which makes sense to me.
13,000.
Right.
Okay? Then there's the net impact of taking that full-time guy and keeping him part-time. That's the savings of 13.
So where we're at now.
that's 78,000.
I got you at 98,500.
Well, I'm way off.
78 too.
I thought you were taking 40 out of police.
Well, I would like to, well, if I do 40, then I'm up to 118,000. That's what I come up with. And I'm not the CPA. So, where are your cuts?
I got 15,000 from the clerk's salary.
Got it.
I have 18,000 from the streets and roads.
Got it.
Salary rate. 25,500 from the land use board.
Yep.
40,000
from the police car.
Yep.
Brings you to 98,500.
Okay, I had 20 here, yeah. 98,000.
Police personnel.
I wouldn't cut that at all, because I just wouldn't do it. We can cut. road
You're still
revenue.
carrying the two vacant positions in there. Yeah, and I think we should, I don't think we should touch that at all.
Well, remember, this is just to get us to the cap.
Right.
This isn't what probably not gonna be what we agree on for the tax increase. We're gonna still have to cut places. This is just to get us under the overage.
How much can I have you at 164 right now for your O&A, what can you comfortably live with?
164, and what was cut out of that, anything?
No, that was what you requested.
That's what I requested. Well, we discussed the salt budget.
Yeah.
Right now, we expended 2016, I appropriated for 1,000 tons of salt, 67.27 a ton. We used nowhere near that. That was a total of $67,270.
And how much did we
We
use?
estimated that because the last two bad winters that we used between 850 and 860 tons each in the last prior to two winters. So the salt budget there is open. The salt shed has probably got 2 storms, if not 3, in it to start next winter. I don't foresee any more snow that we can spread any more salt. And also under the stormwater systems, I had the last item there, install 4 drains and cross pipes on the Rickline Hill Road section between Route 57 and Washington Street, $5,500 to be done.
Is that part of the capital plan or different?
No, that was work that was going to be done by the DPW. There's one crossover pipe there, but it's open on each end, takes the field water from one side to the other. We were going to replace that pipe, put 2 catch basins in there, close the ditch in along the road, and then I got one other spot that ponds a lot, and I was going to put a storm drain in there and a cross pipe just to get it from one side to the other, especially during the winter if it's a ice night.
I don't want to whack your budget too hard. I mean, ultimately, it's their decision, but I know you've been doing a lot of working on the roads. I want to keep you doing that.
Oh yeah, that would keep me doing it, because I didn't touch any of the catch basins and storm drains, our crack sealing program, all that stuff's still intact, including, I started replacing street name signs, faded ones you can't read, and stop signs and stuff like that, that still keeps that the same.
We cut 30,000, that brings us to 128.5, correct?
Maintenance of parks, the 14 to 40K, that includes the lawn cutting,
Yes,
and the buyback is the shared use with the gym.
yes.
Bulk fuel, 60 grand. Prices have come down, I don't know. Prices are cheaper now than when Obama got into office, the first time.
Well, we're only looking at last year's what we spent last year.
Yeah, well, I'm saying,
We're not
this year
going
we're
back to the
spend.
dreadful 7 million.
Yep.
I spent 10,000 so far this year. It might have been carryover from the end of last year, so keep that in mind.
Do we think we're going to do the full 60?
I think we can take something off of that.
I think, I don't know. This is when gas was, last November.
Joe, do we get a contract on that gas?
Yes.
$3.50 a gallon?
How much a gas?
That's through the Warren County Co-op.
Has it gone down?
Don't know, I haven't, and that is something, of course, we're not paying tax, but it's something to do with the market. It's a calculation.
Okay.
I don't know, it's a certain percentage of the market value, so that fluctuates. It doesn't stay the same price throughout the year.
Assuming we're using the same fuel year over year, okay, which is what is already built into this. Can you see what the change in that contract is for 2016? See if we can't squeeze 5-10 grand out of it?
You probably can, but again, you can't do the calculation because it's a weekly, literally a weekly fluctuation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, so you're not staying on top of it like that, no. But you think we can pull 10 grand out?
I would think so.
Of
Because
utilities?
we're not out running the roads with salt. so-
Yeah, what about telephone? What about your cell phone?
You're still
telephone?
working on it. It's not going to be a whole lot, because, the cops, the vehicles have the cards in there, the air
Air
cards,
cards.
so.
Can we say 10 grand for utilities, primarily fuel? Pull that out.
I think, Kathleen, you budgeted for health care 270, but that does not take into account the employee contribution.
Yes.
So I think there we can pull out some money.
I wasn't, I don't know what I...
Because I'm looking at a monthly bill here. I'm looking at a monthly bill of $22,454. Okay?
Yep.
So what is that times 12? That's 250,000, somewhere around there. Maybe 260,
269.
269, okay. And on average, you know how much you're collecting bi-weekly out of the employees?
At the end of last year, I brought in 45,000, I think, back into that line item. I
So-
didn't know what was gonna happen with personnel this year, so I wanted a little cushion.
I don't really think, other than the police department, if we're going to be hiring anybody else, it's going to affect that. So I think we can drop that somewhat to take into consideration the employee contribution.
And we spoke to that life insurance, doing on life, what is that, disability? It's about, it's a little over 1,000 a month, so keep that in mind too. Is there room to cut? Possibly, yeah.
So what does the board think? How do we want to show the employee contribution? I think it should be shown somewhere.
It should be netted off against that one,
I think so.
because it's an appropriation refund.
Right.
So, it comes off the appropriation.
How much are we talking?
Last year, we brought in about 45,000.
That's a 30 or 128,000. So
So, if we do that, are we doing the 10,000 that Jim said for fuel? Was that, Jim mentioned 10,000 for fuel.
Counted it for now, yeah.
Okay, then we got 30,000 for DPW O&E.
You
Right?
do that? Yes, okay.
DPW overtime, 5,000, we already got that. So, those are the
Right.
things that we added. I want to go back to the attorney fees. I think it's probably at least 10 to 20 there, no?
Right now, as it stands, you're about 15,500 short of where you need to be, just to get under the cap,
Right.
so.
let's use the employee contribution for that 15, and then your attorney fees, I think
No, I
you
think
could
he's
discuss.
including that.
No, I don't think he is.
That's not including that.
The
I
45,000?
haven't heard a decision made.
Ah, okay.
When I hear it, then I...
No, I'm okay with that. That's the
So how
45.
much?
Right?
You want to put the whole 45 in?
Well, that's what they're saying. They're saying they contribute 45,000 a year. So that should net it out. Why wouldn't we?
Well, let's put it this way, it can cover us up to the 128,000. We're 15,000
Take
short.
20,000 out of it.
Take 20,000 out. The other thing we can do
So
for...
20,000 for,
What item, what page am I on with this?
We're
Are you on healthcare yet?
on the healthcare. Page 4 of 6. Smack in the middle, 270, Jim?
Yeah. Employee group health.
Okay.
You're saying we take 40?
No, I'm taking 20 out for now. And then if we have to reduce it more, maybe that's how we get it down to the 2 cents or 1 cent or no cent or whatever we're going to come up with.
So that puts you cap compliant. Now for every $59,000 you
We're
cut,
going.
you're down
right, so we're at 4.2 right now.
probably a little less than that, because
Yeah.
you had to cut 124, you cut 128, so you're probably right at 4 cents right now.
And what's the effect of a homeowner owning a home at $300,000? That's a day.
The average homeowner was 272, so...
Okay, then you can use 272
All right, so
at 4
for every,
cents.
for every penny that it goes up, you're gonna go up $27 a year.
Okay.
Okay, so...
$108?
At 4 cents,
Yeah.
that's it. $108 for the year,
And what's the percent increase?
$9 a month.
That comes out to
8 something, I think.
8%, right?
Roughly, yes.
We're gonna keep going.
Right, we go from there.
Mhm. next meeting?
Yeah, no one might hear it either.
I don't know if you wanted to speak. Is it training? I don't know if you wanted to speak or something.
I don't.
Do you want the loader in there, the capital improvement fund money?
How much will that take out?
It's another $110,000.
It's 2 cents. Not quite.
Is that capital? Did we shift from expenditures into
Well, now
cap?
you're expenditure compliant, now we're continuously trying
Trying to reduce the budget.
The tax,
So where is that on this page?
Page 5 of 6, capital improvement fund, $110,000.
Joe, you happy with the full-time and the loader, or you really need the loader? The loader, how bad do you need the loader?
That one snowstorm, that loader saved us a lot of time, a lot of hours. Makes the job a lot easier. Once again, let's remind you, if not, we're dependent on a 1994 backhoe, one machine. I come in here in the middle of the night and it has a flat tire, that thing's something, I don't even have a spare tire. The engine was apart for over a month last year. It's got about 3,300 hours on it, showing wear and tear. So why we had the loader here, I had to pull a cylinder out during the winter and have it rebuilt, $700 some odd dollars.
This is not part of the fire damage, is it?
No, that was sitting outside. The loader, the new loader was sitting in the bank, cracked it.
Can we lease one?
That's what we're doing here.
Yeah, what were we paying?
Doing a winter
That was like
round.
$3,600 a month, wasn't it?
That was $3,800 a month, the winter.
So we're looking at 40-something.
You ever have halfway paid off?
Per month.
Yeah.
Yeah, this week, I've been leasing.
Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt the process, and I know it's important and stuff, but is it possible to switch back to the agenda here? Because I know a lot of folks are here for, other than the financial part of the municipality.
Are we boring you, all right?
It's a challenge, and I know it's important.
Hey, I just mentioned him, I wanted to go to public comment, just to get a comment from the public.
Exactly, you know.
We're at a point where we need to talk with
Well,
Jim
exactly.
Yeah.
and do the public before we kick into executive, if you want to do that.
That's fine with me.
So how about if I make a motion to go to public comment to hear what the public has to say about
Second?
what we're talking about?
Our great capability at
Aye.
looking through a budget. Aye.
Aye. All
Oh, aye.
right.
Did you say aye?
Yep.
All in favor?
Oh, aye.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, public comment, anybody interested to come up and make a comment? Nobody's gonna talk to you now.
I think we should have a roving one, let them sit there, you know?
Gary Hill, 529 North Main Street, Storesville. I'm not actually here so much on the budget side of it as to me, a more important factor. Where are we with the reinstatement of chief pump? Our police department size continues to drop, but our call volume goes up. Prior to the loss of Chief Hummer, the prosecutor's office report alone said that they confirmed that our department was way understaffed. Now we're at least 4 law enforcement officers short. That leaves us with an overworked force. At least 2 of the township committee members know firsthand how dangerous that is. They have an overworked, tired police officer out on the road. It's just plain dangerous, not just to the law enforcement officer, but to the residents and the citizens that they protect. No questions about it. Not only is it dangerous for the overworked, dangerous not just for the law enforcement officer himself, but when you look at him as an employee, all right? Now we're looking at a possibility of increased sick time, because he doesn't get his rest, a possibility for more errors to happen. That ultimately turns into lower morale. When you have lower morale, you have lower production. So any possible chance of getting any revenue out of somebody when you have lower morale, that goes downhill also. Chief Hummer, here we have a very highly trained law enforcement officer, an extremely dedicated employee in the township. We need him back on this department, no question about it. We need him back at the wheel steer the ship back on course that we drifted off so poorly. We don't want this to continue to drift off any longer, right? The residents of Greenwich Township deserve to have him reinstated. We deserve to have him back on the road patrolling or supervising our department. Stop stalling, start acting, get the job done. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Anyone else like a public comment?
Evening, Robert Stoneman, 1807 Gary Road. As hard as this is, for me, I just have some questions in regards to the budget. I'm not trying to go back in that direction, but just 2 quick questions. I'm curious to know if we are actively searching for any type of grants or state or federal money coming in for some of these capital projects. I happen to sit here and Google what the federal government spent out, and it's in the billions. So I'm curious to know if we have submitted any capital requests for expenditures.
Well, typically with that, your engineer will know that better than anybody else, because they'll know where the funding is coming from a project. With grants, we keep grants out of the budget for now, because any grant that's coming in is being spent, so it's an offset 1-to-1. So with that in mind, there's really no grant dollars built into the budget, because they would only be offset by expenses. So every dollar you raise in grant revenue, you have a grant expense. So there's no impact to the local tax rate.
So what happens to the surplus?
With grants, nothing.
There's no incentive for the town?
The incentive is you get grant money to use for, rather than having someone raise extra dollars to pay for streets and roads. If you're gonna pave the road out front, and you can get some grant money to do it, that's money you could raise the taxation or do future addition, but it won't affect your budget one way or another.
So before we consider a tax increase, that would have members of the company.
The engineer has applied for a DOT grant. I'm not sure which road it is, but he just informed me that he's pursuing that.
You have a second question? You said 2 questions.
Oh, he answered it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Oh.
Hi, Chuck Russell, 227 Arbor Drive. I just kind of want to back up what Gary said. I've worked with a lot of police officers over the years. I've got 25 years in this field. Rich is the top of my list. A lot of people don't realize what's going on in this town. It's just like the rest of the world. There's drug overdoses. There's all kinds of crime going on. We need more people out there. When I go out there and I see an officer working 16 hours by himself, it's a little unnerving at 3 o'clock in the morning. We need help. We need to stand back. Please, don't hesitate. I have one other quick comment. We were looking into those computers with the prosecutor's office. Where'd that go?
Well, we'd have to wait until the township attorney's here for that answer, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I think Jim's coming up first, then,
Hi, Joseph Kelly, 1117 Monroe Drive, Stewartsville. My first comment is it's refreshing to see a committee up here that's actually having a constructive conversation, having some argument to try to drive this town forward. But my main comment is I'm also here in support of Chief Hummer. As many of you know, I've had 30 years in law enforcement, including 20 years of supervision and command positions. One of the things that I've learned is when you make a mistake as a government entity, you own that mistake. And then you correct that mistake as soon as possible. Many people in this community believe that the body before you, including me, made a egregious mistake when you terminated Richard Hummer without cause. It's time to own that mistake. It's time to correct that mistake. You're not going to save any money by letting this go on and go into court. History has shown that it's probably going to cost you and us a lot more money. This man is a leader. He has done nothing wrong. Him and his family day by day, go by, suffering for an egregious act by the body that came before you. I have faith in all of you. I know who you are, I know about your backgrounds, and I know that you're going to make this right. And myself and many of the residents in this town will. Thank you.
Thanks.
The first thing is, when you're thinking about the budget and you're on the police department, figuring out what you're gonna budget, I hope you take into consideration the crossing guard, because we need to have some new equipment. We need some new clothing. I did go to my superior and brought that up. And I know that there's I guess our money comes out of the police budget, and of course, there will be, they'll come first on their equipment and their uniforms, because of course they're more important, which I understand. But we also need some new clothing and stuff, so if you can think about that and, do the budget. The second thing is, I'm also here to ask, as a resident, what is taking so long on, reinstating Chief Hummer, which he was proven basically not guilty. We've asked for many, many times last year, what is taking so long? Can we get an answer? What is the problem? What is the holdup? Many residents may not come to the township committee, may not come to the meetings, but they come to a lot of us and ask us, why is he not back? What is the township committee doing? We have a new committee, and still nothing has happened. Can you answer us? There's many people here tonight that are here wondering why he has not been...
We're in public comment. When we close, we'll just come back to address it, but I'll address it now for you. We really can't discuss the chief's position because it's in litigation, it's in the hands of the attorney. I think it would be inappropriate for any of us up here to answer you. I'm looking at the attorney as he's looking at me, saying that. The only thing I tell you about the lack of manpower is I personally won't vote for any new hires until the leadership issue in the department's resolved. That's where I stand. I can only answer for myself. But I believe you build a department from the top down, and until we resolve the issue on who's going to lead this department, I'm not going to vote to hire any more personnel until that's resolved. So I answer for myself. But
Right, but this is a person that did nothing wrong. And I personally was here for his hearing. A lot of people are wondering, why.
Well, what it is, I can answer the question very simple. It's in litigation, it's complicated, there's a lot of moving parts. This committee is taking control of the situation, we're moving forward. They've only been here since January, okay? And it's not something, certainly, we're working on, okay? They're working on it. And we just don't take a situation and settle it within a very short period of time and have live moving parts. Okay? But I can assure you that they're putting their best efforts forward to getting this resolved, and ultimately we'll see where that goes. The committee makes the decision. Okay? So they will vote once we get this position. They'll analyze their options. Of course, there's a lot of different. Right now, if you move forward with the litigation, what the matter can be resolved. Resolving the matter, that's where the devil's in the details in terms of how it is resolved. Okay? So ultimately, they'll make a decision as to whether or not to move forward with the litigation or to resolve the case. But that can't be done at this point. There's no one to tell you that is going to be resolved in 30 days, 60 days, because it's not just what we decide to do. It's also what the litigant decides to do. And he has two different attorneys. There's our insurance companies involved, so there's a lot of different issues to getting this resolved. It's not just this committee, their resolve to get to move forward, but it's not just that.
Well, I hope please hurry up.
Thanks, Dave. Anyone else? Seeing none, motion to close public comment?
Make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Anybody want to respond to any of that?
I just want to say that if you ask me 6 months, it's going to be 6 months that we've been sitting up here. We've been appointed, Bob and I, Frank, came, maybe it's December for you?
Yeah, end of December.
If you said to me back in November, Bill, this issue would still be here 6 months from now, I'd be shocked. But we are doing our best, and, you know, we have Jim here, and we're going to go into executive session, so hopefully we'll get some type of an update.
Yeah, because just remember that there are people, he has to be like somebody else that
Right.
has family.
Absolutely.
How would you feel if it was your family?
Oh, I know, yeah.
Going through this, going through
I know the situation. Okay.
very appropriate.
Motion to go in executive session to discuss litigation, police, and Novak v. Greenwich.
And personnel.
Well, personnel, sworn, clerical assistant.
No, not personnel,
We made the motion now, so,
You could definitely wait.
not personnel.
hey.
Motion's on the table, guys.
Why are we there?
Motion's
So he's
on the
making a
table.
He's making a motion.
He's making a motion.
Okay, so he's making a motion for litigation, police chief and no reference to village coverage and not personnel clerical assistant.
That's correct.
Wait. Is that up on the agenda, right?
Yes.
Can we amend that? Why don't we, let's just amend it, we'll discuss it in
Yeah, I was
executive.
gonna say, yeah.
I'd like to amend that
Amend it,
motion
yeah.
to include that.
Just,
Well, he has to make that amendment.
yeah, you have to make
I believe.
Leave it as it is.
Or we don't second it.
Want to vote or what?
Well, it was meant for Thursday, not today. That's why. I'm not prepared to discuss it.
Thursday's, Thursday's sewer.
Strictly just the sewer,
That's
Just
nothing
sewer.
else.
That's when we were going to do the clerical assistant.
Yeah. It was tonight.
Listen, doesn't hurt to discuss it. If you think we
All
have
right,
enough
I'll amend it.
information,
I'll amend it.
right, so,
Second,
second the amendment, yeah, the amended motion.
discussion?
I would just like to keep the auditors in with this discussion.
No.
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 No?
No.
Okay, all right, fine.
Auditors, no.
You don't want the CFO with you?
No.
No.
Okay.
Nothing personal, guys. Guys, I don't know what's left to discuss tonight on this. We've still got a couple more rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I
think we're good.
do we have any other questions for these guys before, or do you feel it's okay to let them?
No, I think, we're good for the next meeting, I'm sure we'll have plenty.
Yeah, I think we had a couple of takeaways. Famous last words, thank you.
On the nose.
Okay, motion on the table, roll call. Adams?
Yes.
Kenya?
Yes.
Marqueta?
Yes.
Parsons?
Yes.
The chief had a last one,
Blues on.
Nobody left?
Huh? Everyone is up.
Oh, wow.
We need a motion to come out of executive session?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. I make
Okay.
a motion to authorize Attorney Jim Pfeiffer to settle Novak v. Greenwich for the terms and conditions discussed in executive session.
Second?
Roll call. Adams?
Yes.
Kenya?
Yes.
Marqueta?
Yes.
Parsons?
Yes.
Let the record reflect the bill, Mayor Spencer is no longer
Connected.
on the phone.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
No, we gotta make a motion for,
Another meeting.
special
Oh, the
budget
meeting,
meeting on
okay.
April 12th.
Yep.
7 PM, along with an executive session To begin
the executive,
at 7?
at 7 PM. Okay, and then, under executive is going to be litigation Hummer,
On personnel.
personnel clerk, a clerical assistant.
Open session.
Open session will be, budget, correct? And anything else?
I just have one question for Jim. Jim, on that 11,000 for that front loader that he wants, why can't that go into capital? Why are we putting that in there?
Maybe
Why-
it is.
But why is it a line item at 111,000?
I don't know.
You know, Kim, can you look into that? Why is that
Kathleen
111?
has to split it out.
Certainly sounds like a specialty.
Any
Equipment.
piece of equipment like that.
With longevity over 5 years,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
especially,
We have a motion on the table.
I'm sorry, you do.
For what?
For April 12th, I made that motion.
Second.
Motion and second by Bob. Okay, roll call. Adams?
Yes.
Kenya?
Yes.
Marqueta?
Yes.
Marson?
yes.
I think we gotta get the detail
again.
out of
Yes.
Kathleen for the front end loader.
Yeah, can you get the detail on that front end loader, why it's not in capital, and why is it a line item? No,
Well, we need the capital overview at the next meeting.
and the capital overview for the next meeting.
I thought it was in capital. They included capital in this budget.
But why is it 111,000 in that budget? Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
It's not in the cap. It's
Right,
not
but it's in the
expenditure
budget.
cap.
But it's in the budget,
later on.
right, exactly.
So it's a different cap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Well, it's about time. I'll second.
Make the motion.
I make the motion.
No, Bob made the motion.
Bob,
Oh,
Get out of here.
In second.
okay.
in favor?
Aye.
9:04.
Now we got it.
Shut that. Turn off the tape.
Turn off the